Maybe we should get that in writing.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most controversial Sesame Street moments.
I've never seen tag played like that.
Well, Julia does do some things a little differently.
For this list, we're looking at the most divisive scenes and characters from every version of the long-running kids show. Did we miss any moments that got under your skin? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Katy Perry's costume is too risque. Sesame Street. In 2010, Katy Perry filmed a kid-friendly version of her hit song Hot and Cold with Elmo. Unfortunately for the singer, her music video drew a lot of heat when it premiered on YouTube. The criticism was squarely focused on Perry's costume. A lot of adults thought the low neckline and length of the dress were both inappropriate for kids. Although the song was supposed to air with the first episode of season 41 of Sesame Street, the show decided to pull it from air. In the aftermath, Perry took the news in stride. She even appeared on Saturday Night Live to make light of the controversy.
Look at Elmo, his head's all stretched out.
It is?
Number 9. Partnership with Autism Speaks. Sesame Street. A Muppet with autism named Julia arrived on Sesame Street during a digital campaign in 2015 before debuting on the TV show in 2017.
Sometimes it takes Julia a while to answer. It helps to ask again. Julia, can Big Bird see your painting?
See your painting? Yes.
Prior to her first live-action appearance, members of the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network backed the character. But the relationship between the organization and the show soured in 2019. That year, Sesame Street released PSAs with Autism Speaks that promoted the group's 100-day kit.
With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still loves to make music. Play band.
This controversial guide has been criticized for inaccuracies, encouraging parents to react negatively to their child's diagnosis, and more. But Sesame Street still pushed on with the PSAs. Although the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network proceeded to distance themselves from the show, Julia fortunately remained.
Every kid is an original. We're all one of a kind. There's no one else quite like us that you're ever gonna find.
Number 8. Margaret Hamilton Scares Kids. Sesame Street. Actress Margaret Hamilton is best known for playing the Wicked Witch of the West in the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. She went on to reprise the role for a 1976 Sesame Street episode.
Oh, curses! The wind blew that broom right out from under me and dumped me here.
Thanks to Hamilton's frightening makeup and intimidating acting, the show received tons of letters that claimed she was too scary for young audiences.
A wicked witch was standing there, she was making all kinds of faces, yelling and screaming.
Aw, David, what is this, some kind of a game?
This negative response was as harmful to the episode as water was for the Wicked Witch. Sesame Street producers decided to pull the Wicked Witch's story from their rotation and never let her darken the neighborhood on TV again. The episode became incredibly hard to find in the decades after its debut.
And as for you, my fine feathered friend, how would you like to be turned into one of these?
Number 7. Cammy joins the cast. Tuckalunny Sesame. When the South African version of Sesame Street, known as Tuckalunny Sesame, wanted to address the HIV/AIDS crisis that was affecting people in the region, they brought in a new character.
Oh, and I also talked to them about HIV and AIDS.
In September 2002, they introduced Cammy, an HIV-positive puppet. They aimed to use the character to promote awareness of and decrease stigma associated with the disease.
We are having a street party here on Tuckalunny Sesame in support of everyone who is HIV positive like me.
However, not everyone was so welcoming. Based on their incorrect belief that HIV/AIDS is spread primarily by the LGBTQ+ community in the US, conservative critics condemned a character like Cammy appearing on a children's show because she might inspire tolerance and acceptance of that community. They also threatened to pull funding from the American version of the show if a similar character were ever introduced. However, the character was never intended for American audiences. Cammy weathered the controversy and continues to appear on shows outside the US.
We love you, Cammy. Oh, I love you all, guys.
Oh.
Hip hip.
Number 6. Alistair Cookie's Pipe. Sesame Street.
delicious. Nom 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 nom. Come to Papa.
In 2005, rumors spread that Cookie Monster would go on a diet and be renamed as a healthier type of monster. It all began when Grover joked to Jimmy Kimmel that Cookie Monster was on a healthy diet.
Yeah, he is on a diet.
Is he really?
Yeah, he is. He is on a diet. He is only eating healthy foods.
This prompted longtime fans to worry that the sweet character was giving up what he loved, or even changing his name entirely to reflect the organic foods he was eating. After rumors spread like wildfire, Cookie Monster had to confirm he wasn't changing anytime soon. This sweet story wasn't the only controversy surrounding the character.
Good evening, and welcome to Monsterpiece Theater. Me, Alistair Cookie.
In early episodes of Monsterpiece Theater, he held a pipe and ate it at the end. Before home release, the shots with the pipe were edited out and reshot. Number 5. Mahbub tries to bridge the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Rehov Sumsum. Now known as Rehov Sumsum, this version of Sesame Street was made for Israeli audiences. In 2006, the show introduced an Arab-Israeli puppet named Mahbub, who spoke both Hebrew and Arabic. He was meant to pave the way for kids from different backgrounds to accept each other in the midst of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Initially, Mahbub was met with protests and criticism over concerns that his existence might be a strong political statement. But he soon became a staple of the show. Although he had less frequent appearances in Shalom Sesame in 2010, he still managed to make the roster. Number 4. Oscar the Grouch makes Fox News angry. Sesame Street. In a 2007 episode, Oscar the Grouch reported on breaking news from the Grouchy News Network.
Well, it's about time you tuned in. I'm Oscar the Grouch, and this is GNN, the Grouch News Network. All grouchy, all disgusting, all yucky news, all the time.
After making several calls saying that the content was too clean and happy, Grungetta declared that she would no longer watch GNN.
Hugging and kissing? That is it. I am changing the channel.
She would instead watch Pox News, because it was a
trashy news show.
The joke came and went without much backlash until a rerun in 2009. After hearing the joke, outraged adults wrote to PBS and claimed that the skit was clearly taking shots at Fox News. 5 days after the episode aired again, PBS staffer Michael Gettler published an article saying that the parody probably should have been left out.
This is Anderson Cooper in for Oscar the Grouch, who's on assignment at the dump. I'm here with two legendary Grouch newscasters, Dan Rather Not and Walter Cranky.
Number 3. Is Snuffleupagus real? Sesame Street. Although he first appeared in 1971, Mr. Snuffleupagus was believed to be imaginary for many years.
I don't think I've ever seen you before here on Sesame Street.
Big Bird could just never get humans to see Snuffy. It wasn't until the 17th season that all the adults believed and acknowledged him. While this plotline seemed innocent enough, the reason it was brought to an end stemmed from serious news reports.
I don't see anybody.
Gee, Bird, they were just here.
You sure?
At the time, stories about young people being mistreated were on the rise. This led to concerns that kids would look at the fact that no one believed Big Bird and not tell the truth about real harm that came to them. To remedy this mistake, the adults finally acknowledged Snuffy.
At last! Oh, joy, joy! I told you there was a Snuffleupagus, and at last, you've seen him, and you gotta believe it, right?
The adults also apologized to Big Bird for not believing him. Number 2. Roosevelt Franklin is a negative stereotype. Sesame Street. Despite being heavily featured in earlier seasons, Roosevelt Franklin isn't seen much on Sesame Street nowadays.
Here I am, and there you are.
The main reason the Muppet was pushed out of the spotlight is because of how he was portrayed. Some black parents felt that Franklin's interest in scat music, his speech patterns, and grammar were exaggerated stereotypes of black people's interests and characteristics. Others felt he wasn't doing enough to address real issues affecting people of color.
Now, who knows what Africa looks like?
After the network received the divided feedback, they pulled the polarizing character from the main cast in 1975. However, Roosevelt still appeared on rare occasions at later points in the franchise.
Wrong, Smarty.
Wrong, Smarty, wrong.
You and Tarzan are both wrong.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Goodbye, Mr. Hooper, Sesame Street. Played by Will Lee, Mr. Hooper was a beloved Sesame Street cast member that appeared in the series from the very first episode. Sadly, he passed away in 1982 while the show was still going. Lee's death put the kids' program in a difficult position. Although they could say Mr. Hooper moved away or recast the role, Sesame Street decided to be honest with its audience.
Don't you remember we told you? Mr. Hooper died. He's dead.
On the 1983 Thanksgiving episode, Big Bird learns that Mr. Hooper passed away. This daring episode made the team nervous that it would be too much for its young audiences.
When people die, they don't come back.
Ever?
No, never.
Why not?
And after its release, it did receive some criticism for discussing death, but thankfully, it was eventually received positively and became a milestone for the show.
We can all be very happy that we had a chance to be with him and to know him and to love him a lot when he was here.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.